Esteemed guests, ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming our special guest for today, His Excellency Xavier Bettel, the Prime Minister of Luxembourg, who is joining us this afternoon. A round of applause as we give him a warm welcome as he joins us this afternoon. We may all kindly take our seats. Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the opening session of the Partner to Connect Digital Development Roundtable. Before we begin, let's watch together the curtain raiser video for P2C.
Doubled its efforts to help countries rapidly expand connectivity to reach the 2.9 billion people who are still offline. In coordination with the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Technology, and in line with the UN Secretary General's Roadmap for Digital Cooperation, the Partner to Connect Digital Coalition is a multi-stakeholder alliance to foster meaningful connectivity and digital transformation globally in the hardest to connect communities, with a focus on, but not limited to, least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states. Based on the principles of inclusion, partnership, and SDG-focused digital development, Partner to Connect will serve as a leadership platform to mobilize new resources, partnerships, and commitments across 4 focus areas: access, connecting people everywhere; adoption, empowering communities; value creation, building digital ecosystems; and accelerate, incentivizing investments. Time is running out in this decade of action. We must join forces now and work together to extend universal access and empower the billions of people who are still offline to make use of digital connectivity to transform lives, communities, and societies. Visit www.itu.int/partner to connect.
Once again, a very warm welcome to each and every one of you. For those of you who are joining us physically, as well as our virtual audience who are following these sessions as they are being streamed out to the world. My name is Fiona Muthoni Naringwa. I am a senior producer at CNBC Africa, and I'll be the MC for today. I now have a great pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speakers who are joining us physically and some remotely, who will be opening the P2C Digital Development Roundtable. Help me welcome them as they make their way to the stage and take the seats. I'll start by a round of applause as we welcome Ms. Doreen Bogdan-Martin, the Director of the ITU Telecommunication Development Bureau, as she makes her way to the stage. A round of applause. Help me welcome the Honorable Ms. Paula Ingabire. She is the Minister of Information, Communication Technology and Innovation, Rwanda. We also have Ms. Maria Francesca Spatolisano, the Assistant Secretary General, UN-DESA, and Acting Envoy, United Nations Office of the Secretary General, Technology Envoy. We also have Ms. Juliana Noves, Generation Connect Visionaries Board Member. Kindly, you're welcome to the stage. A round of applause as she makes her way. To start, let me give the floor first to Ms. Doreen Bogdan-Martin to deliver her welcome remarks. The floor is yours, Ms. Doreen.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Fiona. I hope you can hear me. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to this opening of the Partner to Connect Digital Development Roundtable series. It's an honor for me, of course, to share the stage today with Minister Paula Ingabire, who is our host of the WTDC and who has been a strong partner since the very beginning of Partner to Connect, as well as my friend and colleague, Maria Francesca, joining us, I believe, from New York, Assistant Secretary General and Acting Tech Envoy. She has believed in Partner to Connect from its very early days, and I'm happy she can be here with us today to see it be formally launched. And of course, I'm also here with Juliana Novaes. We had the pleasure of being together last week here in Kigali for our Generation Connect Global Youth Summit. Youth has been at the core of Partner to Connect from the very beginning. And so I'm so happy that she can be here with us to share some of the thoughts and views from the young people who have actually made a pledge to Partner to Connect. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday when we opened the World Telecommunications Development Conference, the 8th edition here in this very room, we also launched the ITU, the new report, the first ever global connectivity report. That report showed that the number of internet users went from a few million to 5 billion over a 30-year period. But what the report focuses on is the potential of digital connectivity and how that actually remains largely untapped. Why? Well, that's why we're here, because 2.9 billion people have never, ever used the internet. And of course, among those that we count as actually being online, hundreds of millions of them do not have sufficient connectivity, speed, cost, content, skills to actually make an impact in their lives. So this new global connectivity report zooms in on meaningful connectivity that we believe is the global imperative for this last decade of action before we need to complete the SDGs. The UN Secretary General, in his Digital Cooperation Roadmap and in his Our Common Agenda, has recognized connectivity as a basic, fundamental, foundational element to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. This is the perfect time for us to move from vision and collective will to real action. In this spirit, last fall, on the margins of the General Assembly, we launched Partner to Connect. Partner to Connect is a multi-stakeholder alliance. It's action-oriented, and it's all about fostering meaningful connectivity and digital transformation in the hardest to connect communities. So we're focusing largely, but not exclusively, on LDCs, LLDCs, and SIDS. Together with our knowledge partner, and I want to recognize the Boston Consulting Group, BCG, and our 19 focus area leaders, many of which are in this room, and with the support of over 200 organizations that constituted our working groups, we've been working since last September to flesh out a very comprehensive action framework, an action framework that we believe will help us to achieve those 4 focus areas. Our pledging platform, which was launched in March, seeks to mobilize new resources, new partnerships, of course, and commitments across access, adoption, value creation, and accelerated investments. We also successfully conducted a series of web dialogues, starting in Katowice, moving to New York, to Geneva. We had panelists from around the globe joining us and thousands of people that came to some of our physical sessions as well as our remote sessions. They've been working for what we're going to be unveiling over the next 2.5 days here in Kigali. The Digital Development Roundtables that we are kicking off today are a real milestone for the ITU. It's the very first time that we have a truly multi-stakeholder group gathered together and actively participating in the WTDC through this roundtable dialogue. I'm happy to share that last week when I arrived in Kigali, we had close to 200 pledges. I was thrilled. But today we're up to 250 pledges, which I think is astounding. I'm hopeful to see even more before we conclude Partner to Connect on Thursday. And so I encourage you, if you have not yet pledged, please do so. Our program over the next 2.5 days will not only showcase and celebrate our current and new Partner to Connect pledges in our 10 high-level panels, but it will also bring attention to specific digital development topics. We have 5 specific spotlight sessions, and so I encourage you also to join those spotlight sessions. We also have our P2C corner, our Partner to Connect corner, where you can actually sit down with some of our partners, learn about what they're committing to and how you, your country, your company can actually benefit from their pledges. I want to thank you again for being here with us in Kigali. I want to also thank those of you that are joining us online. Because, ladies and gentlemen, every pledge counts. Every pledge is a step forward in our dream of universal, meaningful connectivity for all. I wish you all a successful Partner to Connect experience, successful roundtables, and many memorable moments here in Kigali, and many meaningful opportunities to partner to connect. Thank you so much, and back to you, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bogdan Martin, for opening the floor for us. I'd now like to invite Mrs. Patolisano, who is joining us online, to share her remarks with us as well. Hello, we can see you. Ms.
Thank
Patolisano,
you. Thank you very
you.
much. Yes, the technician unmuted me. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to be here today to address this distinguished gathering in Kigali. Addressing digital in all its dimensions is one of the defining challenges of our times. Our experience during COVID has made even more stark our reliance on ICTs and thus the urgency with which the international community must come together to provide global steerage. The WTDC and the important work that you are doing is thus integral to advancing global digital cooperation. Indeed, the recommendations of the Secretary General's roadmap for digital cooperation on global connectivity, digital inclusion, and digital capacity building are certainly based on and closely aligned with your objectives and efforts. The Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Technology has also been grateful for its close partnership with the International Telecommunication Union. And as Doreen has said, we work together since the beginning. The United Nations is now preparing for the proposed Global Digital Compact, as mentioned by the UN Secretary General in his remarks. Your discussions and the Kigali Action Plan will be essential in helping us build the compact to be presented at next year's UN Summit of the Future. And in particular, the work of the Partners to Connect coalition will bring us closer towards our collective goal of universal, meaningful connectivity for all. I look forward to discussing the compact at tomorrow's spotlight session, as well as the informal consultations on the compact on the 9th of June. And I wish you a very successful conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Spatolisano. I would like to call upon Ms. Juliana Noves from Generation Connect Visionaries board member for her remarks. Juliana, the floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable delegates, I'm very happy to be here representing the Generation Connect Global Visionaries Board. In the past 2 years, the COVID-19 has caused the sudden transition of our activities to the online world, and this has highlighted the great inequalities we still have in internet distribution around the globe. Young people were among those most affected by this, especially those living in developing countries, where connectivity gaps do not allow them to access the internet in affordable and inclusive conditions. The ITU has taken several steps to overcome these gaps in the past year. An important one has been the effort to include young people into the decision-making process, which translates itself in the Generation Connect initiative. Another initiative has been Partner to Connect, which aims to bring together different stakeholders to bridge the digital divide. But how do these two initiatives connect with each other? In the past week, the Generation Connect Youth Global Summit has come up with a call to action that expresses our hopes and our wishes when it comes to connecting the unconnected and our role in this decision-making process. This is where I believe Generation Connect and Partner to Connect relate with each other. We need to work together to include young people and to connect the young people who still do not have access to the internet in the world. And the way to do so is through partnership and joint efforts. We do not want to be left behind. So we encourage you to consider the needs and the voices of young people during your participation at this WTDC. We kindly ask that your pledges in the Partner to Connect initiative address our needs. And of course, when you go back from this conference into your country, that the policies that you develop at nation level also take into consideration the voices of the youth. So ladies and gentlemen, we from Generation Connect have a very simple request for you today. What we kindly ask of you is to become an ally of the youth in the effort to bridge the digital divide. Please consider the needs of the young people into the resolutions that you support during this conference and the pledges you present to Partner to Connect. The time is now and the place is here. Let's get together and connect all the young people in the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Noves. That definitely sets pace for the discussions that will be held. Now, allow me to give the floor to Honorable Minister Paula Ingabire, Minister of Communication, Technology and Innovation, Rwanda, for her remarks. The floor is yours, Honorable Minister.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Fiona. To the Prime Minister of Luxembourg, the SG of ITU, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I think we've had over the last few days, even starting with the Youth Summit that we had last week and yesterday's opening session, that universal connectivity underpins our country's collective and individual efforts. But we also know that no country, no company, no organization has the resources to achieve universal connectivity or the objective of universal connectivity on their own. We just had the youth. I actually felt like it was a tough call coming after her, after heeding her challenge. But we've also had that they want to be part and parcel of the policies, of the programs that we are putting in place to close the digital divide gap. What this means is that partnerships are key. We must work together, shoulder to shoulder, if we are to achieve the outcomes we're seeking. The Partner to Connect Digital Coalition Roundtable offers us this opportunity to engage with each other, to form formidable partnerships and that continue to move us forward towards the success that is closing the gaps. Doreen just mentioned the 250 pledges that have been made today. And I want to heed your call, Doreen, this afternoon, and also make a pledge on behalf of Rwanda. For Rwanda, we'll increase the digital access and inclusion through investments in digital access enablers, focusing on underserved areas and groups. This includes support for smart device affordability, financing schemes, as well as the local connectivity access schemes targeting unconnected governments, offices, schools, hospitals, and public areas. We'll also work to help and support the vulnerable households to ensure that each household in the country owns at least a smartphone. There are at least 2.8 million households that need to be equipped with smartphones by 2030. But also, as we think about smart devices, heeding the call of the youth representative, we're also committing to connect all schools to ensure that all the students in schools have access to information, have access to devices that will allow them to engage in the hybrid mode of learning that we're seeing ourselves venture into today. Our second commitment is around strengthening the foundational digital ID ecosystem, which will also look at both the national ID, the civil registration, supporting the expansion of service delivery in key sectors for all the online transactions. And we intend to ensure that we've provided this digital ID infrastructure for at least 80% of our population by 2026. I'm looking forward to seeing how we as leaders can engage over the next few days to mobilize the resources, the partnerships, the commitments that are needed to achieve universal and meaningful connectivity for all. I'm also looking forward to seeing how the Partner to Connect Forum will position itself to support the implementation of the United Nations Secretary General's roadmap for digital cooperation, as well as the UN Secretary General's initiative or report. Let us use this opportunity provided by Partner to Connect Forum to create innovative new partnerships and to build on the success that has already been achieved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, and thank you to all our speakers for opening this exciting and inaugural Partner to Connect Digital Development Roundtable. We are looking ahead to 3 very exciting days of announcements and pledges that will help all of us bring meaningful connectivity to everyone around the world. A round of applause as our speakers take their seats. Distinguished audience, it is now my great pleasure to invite to the stage His Excellency Mr. Xavier Bettel, Prime Minister, Minister of State, Minister for Communications and Media, Minister for Religious Affairs, Minister for Digitalization, and Minister for Administrative Reforms of the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg to deliver his special message.
Dear guests, just for information, I'm in my government. I have other colleagues, not to think that I got everything. So firstly, I would like to say thank you for being able to be here today, and allow me with a personal note I want to say thank you to Mr. Zhao for 36 years in the ITU, and also I'm now Prime Minister for close to 9 years, and the good collaboration that we had together. I wanted to thank you for all you did, and I know that your wife is going to be happy that it's done. So I just realized during the speeches that Juliana was on her phone to read the documents. Doreen was on a tablet, and Paula had also a tablet. This is something we wouldn't have done 15 years ago. And when we speak about the ITU, most of us, we do not remember that the beginning of ITU was today usually means that you microwaved on his work. That was the beginning. Where are we today? And I'm happy that we are also, if I'm right, having for the first time in history, ITU World Telecommunications Development Conference taking place in Africa. It's the first time, if I'm right. And on one hand, I have to tell you that usually Europeans, we love to teach others. But I think that most of you don't know that, for example, here in Rwanda, they have no roamings existing with neighboring countries since longer than the EU. This is something we try to think that we were the first one. It was in 2017 in Europe. And Rwanda with 4 other countries, Burundi, Tanzania, Uganda, and also, I forgot one, Tanzania, did it. I want to quote that because very often we think in Africa, are they so much? They did it. These are 5 countries. I don't know how the other countries are. And just when we speak about roaming, and allow me to start with this, because I come from a continent where we have a war situation for the moment. And the first thing that Ukrainians need when they come to another country is to be able to stay connected. As I told you before with the telegraph, today we stay connected. We want to get news. We want to do FaceTime. We want to know in a direct mood. I remember when my parents sent me when I was a young guy on Colonie on holidays. When I sent 2 postcards during 2 weeks, they were happy. Now, if I don't call in the first half an hour when I go somewhere to my mom to say that I arrived well, she thinks something happened. So our life changed through telecommunications, and we have to know how important the ITU is to be able to have all this work together. When I speak about a digital life, we realize that digital is huge opportunities. And as I told you before, with the tablets of our tree, and congratulations to have 4 women speaking to open. I like that. And they spoke not because they were women, because their position. That's what I like. So the fact is, when we speak about telecommunication, today we see all the opportunities, but we have also to be aware, and I spoke just before about the situation that we have in Ukraine, also about fake news. Something we have to prevent. If some of you are in politics or were in politics before, you remind a few years ago, a journalist called you in the morning at 10 o'clock and told you, I need an information till 6, because afterwards we'll go to the print. Now he calls you at 10 and he needs an answer for 10:15 because he wants to first to have the push news. So we are in a situation where telecommunication changes our lives, also our behaviors, and through fake news also the fact to educate people. We just come out, and I hope I touch wood, of a COVID. situation. Imagine COVID without digital. Imagine. I was able to have my meetings through all these platforms, and I don't want to quote one because then I will forget at least two. But so this was possible to work, to do what we call also home working. We had the possibility to do education, to educate people also during COVID crisis. And so this was also a very important step in that direction. And the lessons learned, in fact, from the COVID crisis comfort me in my vision of a continuous endeavor to position my country as one of the most digital societies in the world, because it means also resilience through our networks. And we have prepared, without knowing it, to this situation by building up connectivity in our countries. Let me say a few words on the instruments through which Luxembourg supports and help and implement also the Partner to Connect and overall ITU policy goals. The Société Européenne de Satellites, SES, is one of the biggest leader in satellite communication and is also an ITU sector member. SES is providing satellite connectivity solutions to institutions, governments, schools and hospitals, but also enterprises, for example, in energy, also in banking, as well as international organizations like the UN agencies all over Africa, using 2 constellations of satellites. This means that SES is a key partner to contribute to meaningful connectivity. This company also has partnered with the telecom operator Orange to provide very high capacity solutions in several African countries with its new MEO system called O3B Empower. O3B stands for the other 3 billions of people who are still not connected today. On that topic also, I really appreciate that the presidents of UNICEF and the ITU, and that we try to understand that today not being connected during the COVID crisis, imagine no education, for example, no right to be educated. And that also, and we have to be careful that connectivity is not something just for the happy few living in capitals or in cities or for young people. We should avoid that at the end we get a gap between people living in villages, in small places, or for older people. There is an other instrument which underscores our drive to provide meaningful connectivity to communities also everywhere. The eHealth platform, ZatMed, is a cloud-based platform which the Luxembourg government has also brought to life. The platform is operated again by SES and supports health providers in regions that are far away from communication infrastructure. This enables mobile health solutions and better communication in order to connect also hospitals in faraway places, all through the satellite connectivity enabled by this company. In the north of Bangladesh, the ZatMed platform is used by health professionals in floating hospitals and terrestrial hospitals of the Friendship NGO. In Niamey, Niger, where I have been on an official visit yesterday, health professional uses the ZatMed platform in order to establish communications with national and international medical doctors so that they are always up to date and also can increase their situational awareness. This is for us another clear example of an instrument that helps to develop Partner to Connect's important policy goals. Dear guests, dear honorable guests, excellencies, I have had the great honor to speak here in Kigali's World Telecommunication Development Conference. We believe in the ITU mission. We stand behind the Partner to Connect's policy goal, and we want to become the partner you need in order to build and enable meaningful connectivity. We believe that being connected is today not only the fact that you can have a call, it's a right to get health, it's a right to get school, it's a right to be able to get information, it's a right to defend, it's a right to inform, it's a right to be informed. So don't reduce it just to connectivity. let's get and never forget, even if we are very well connected, this should never replace human relations too. I'm sorry to insist on that, but I've been very often, the last time this was a nightmare. I've been for Valentine's Day. I don't know if you celebrate Valentine's Day in all of the countries. The neighboring table, they were just doing picture of the food and posting them on Facebook and then commenting about the comments or how many likes one and the other had. I wish you on the 14th of February to switch off your phone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency Prime Minister, for your remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes this session, but please do remain seated for the departure of our special guests. The next session, which will be the first out of the 10 high-level panels for the P2C Digital Development Roundtable, will commence immediately after. Once again, thank you so much, Your Excellency, for making time to be with us today. A round of applause as His Excellency, the Prime Minister, departs. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue with the program for today. It now gives me the pleasure to invite the speakers for high-level panel 1 to come and take the stage. And I'd also like to welcome the moderator for this particular panel, Robert Opp, the Chief Digital Officer of the United Nations Development Program. A round of applause as our speakers make their way to the stage. Okay, Robert, I guess it's now over to you.
Fiona, thank you. I'm afraid we're not doing as well in the gender balance on this panel. The Honourable Minister from South Africa seems to be representing that side of humanity right now, although we have a couple of speakers online as well. So welcome everyone to this first high-level panel for the Partner to Connect Digital Roundtable. My name is Robert Opp. I'm the Chief Digital Officer for the United Nations Development Program, and I'll be moderating the panel today. UNDP is honored to be part of the Partner to Connect Coalition, and we have really, we've been part of the leadership of one of the focus areas, and really see this as catalyzing a global movement toward digital inclusion. And in fact, I see this, especially in the last couple of days being here, this is really more than a coalition, this is a community. And so I really want to congratulate Doreen Bogdan, the ITU team, and all who really have put this together, because it really is a spectacular gathering of people that are active in this space. Okay, so the high-level panels as part of the agenda are really designed to give a platform where people can make announcements about the pledges that they've made. And so it's really about making those 250 pledges that Doreen talked about, making them real. And so we're going to hear from each speaker about the pledges that they're making toward the coalition itself. A little bit of ground rules. Speakers have 3 minutes each. I am told that when 3 minutes is up, there will be some soft music that increasingly becomes louder. So it's kind of like the Oscars speeches or something. So be prepared for that, and apologies in advance if the music or if I need to interrupt you for the purpose of time, as we have so many speakers. Also, these microphones are a bit distance sensitive, so please try to make sure they're in front of your mouth as much as possible. And for those of you from my Anglophone Canadian background, if I mispronounce your names, please indulge me in my apologies in advance. Okay, so the first speaker that we have that will be mentioning their pledge, Her Excellency Ms. Kumbudzo Ncheveni, Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies of the Republic of South Africa. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Your Excellencies, it is an honor to join this Partner to Connect pledge session. South Africa is implementing a broadband connectivity drive through a program we call South Africa SA Connect. The goal of SA Connect is to ensure that all South Africans have access to the internet by 2024. And the SA Connect program is driven through 4 initiatives. The one is social obligations linked to the successful auction of the spectrum, which did not only raise $1 billion for our national fiscus, but the mobile operators will spend not less than 17 billion or equivalent to $1.3 billion to connect all public schools, health facilities, public libraries, government service centers, traditional authorities by end of June 2025. And secondly is connecting government by ensuring that outstanding government sites are connected by end March 2024. And this target is critical for our program to digitalize government. And the digitalization of government aims to have 80% of our citizen-facing services to be online by 2025, with the government planning to go paperless by end of March 2023. The third driver is the connecting communities by connecting over 33,000 community Wi-Fi hotspots that will provide internet access to more than 5.8 million households, with the rapid growth of Wi-Fi in complementing and offloading mobile data traffic from fixed broadband. There's a growing need for the ITU to consider more protection of spectrum use for Wi-Fi services, including possible licensing of Wi-Fi spectrum. The broadband connectivity program will be implemented through emerging and small medium enterprises such as internet service providers, wireless access providers, and mobile virtual network operators. Our intention is to create a new technology industry. And for this program, the government of South Africa will invest over $161 million or 2.5 billion rands over the 36 months period. And the fourth one is the satellite for communication services to enhance the reach of our broadband connectivity. And South Africa is now ready to launch its own satellite. The satellite will address the both media and broadband connectivity objectives and will entrench our technology and data sovereignty. The SA Connect program will be complemented by a robust program to modernize our networks in partnership with industry, which entails the full deployment of 4G and 5G networks by 2025. And to enable this, we will shut down 2G and 3G networks over the same period. And this financial year will commence with the prohibition of the importation and distribution of South Africa of 2G devices. Distinguished delegates, the most fundamental requirement for a digital world is access to broadband connectivity by all, irrespective of geographic location and economic standing. And South Africa is fully committed to this. And it is for this reason that we seek your support for our re-election into the ITU Council and also to the Radio Regulatory Board. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Those are very broad-ranging and ambitious commitments. 80% of government services online by 2025. Fantastic. Our next speaker is going to join us by video, live video. His Excellency, Mr. Kashayar Farmanbar, who is the Minister for Energy and Digital Development of Sweden. Minister, the floor is yours.
Thank you, and I'm also impressed by your pronunciation. Your Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, it is my pleasure to participate, however, unfortunately, remotely at today's high-level panel at Partner to Connect Digital Development Roundtable. As we all know, the potential of digital technologies is enormous. It creates opportunities for societies to grow and prosper while giving individuals easier access to information and education, when the right conditions are in place. So bridging the digital divide is one of the main challenges of our time. The global digital divide must be bridged in order to realize the full potential of the digital transformation. It is an important step towards global equality and cohesion, which benefits us all. Through our telecom regulator, Sweden is currently involved in a capacity building program in sub-Saharan Africa. Over the past 6 years, the Swedish Post and Telecom Authority and SPIDER, a project with Stockholm University, has contributed to capacity building in more than 30 countries. We support regulators on fulfilling their strategic targets while engaging in discussions on joint challenges at the same time. Sweden pledges to work actively to connect the unconnected by enhancing and expanding our capacity building program in sub-Saharan Africa for the coming 5 years with the help of SPIDER and our telecom regulators. The initiative will focus on ICT regulation in cooperation with other member states and regulators. Sweden will also continue to strengthen its work with the Digital Impact Alliance, which cooperates with ITU to support a holistic approach to the digital transformation. With this pledge and our candidacy to the ITU Council, Sweden wants to show our strong commitment to the global digital transformation and to the work of the ITU. Thank you so much for having the opportunity to talk to you via link. And I think I have 30 seconds that I will give to the music.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Yes, very pleased to see the virtual remote connection working quite well. So that's great. Thank you for being with us. Our next speaker is joining us by video message. His Excellency, Mr. Chris Philp, who is the Minister for Technology and Digital Economy, Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sports in the United Kingdom. But he will be introduced here by Mr. Paul Gaskell, who is the Deputy Head of the UK delegation to the conference here and Deputy Director for the International Digital Standards and Internet Governance in the same department, the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport of the United Kingdom.
Thank you, Your Excellencies. I'd like to introduce the UK Minister who has to be in London at this time. Thank you.
And we have the
Good
video.
afternoon. I'm sad not to be with you in Kigali today, but delighted to address this important gathering. Firstly, thanks to Rwanda on this landmark World Telecommunication Development Conference and the Partner to Connect Digital Development Roundtable. The United Kingdom supports the Generation Connect initiative of the ITU Youth Strategy. We are proud to have sponsored UK delegates as well as the Gambian Youth Envoy to the Global Youth Summit last week. As part of this Partner to Connect initiative, together with the ITU, the United Kingdom will host a breakfast session later this week on building global cyber resilience through partnerships and collaboration. I hope many of you will join us for breakfast on Thursday morning. The United Kingdom's bid for a seat on the ITU Council this year is driven by the priority we attach to the ITU progressing global digital development to connect the unconnected. This ambition cannot be borne by the ITU alone. Member states all have a crucial role to play in advancing that agenda, and I can pledge now the UK will play our full part promoting responsible and sustainable digital transformation across the world and supporting inclusive, affordable, efficient and secure connectivity. We will pursue this through the delivery of technical assistance, capacity building, promoting policy dialogue and sharing best practice. The United Kingdom's Digital Access Programme, on which we have so far spent £40 million since 2019, promotes inclusive, safe and secure digital access for underserved communities in 5 partner countries in East, West and Southern Africa, as well as in Latin America and Southeast Asia. It seeks to improve relevant policies and regulations, develop scalable and sustainable technology and business models for last mile connectivity, build digital literacy and skills, strengthen cybersecurity capacity building, and support local digital entrepreneurship and innovation. In 2021 alone, the UK's Digital Access Programme reached over 2.4 million people in those 5 partner countries. As part of this programme, the UK has co-designed and funded a partnership project on digital inclusion with ITUD. This UK ITU partnership focuses on providing technical assistance and capacity to strengthening regulatory frameworks, promote public-private investment, expand school connectivity in underserved areas, and advance digital skills for young people. Last year, the UK spent about £1 million on this UK ITU partnership, and we are now pledging nearly £500,000 to scale it up this year. Separately, we are also pledging another £700,000 this year for specific digital development project delivery alongside the Association for Progressive Communications and together with key partners and stakeholders. These funds will mean we can train and mentor at least 105 community network facilitators to reach over 70,000 people in underserved areas across 35 communities in those 5 partner countries. Overall, the UK plans to extend the work of the Digital Access Programme until 2025. Turning to cybersecurity, this is a key issue where we are very keen to share UK expertise. The UK's cybersecurity capacity building programmes globally have worked with over 100 partner countries and helped train over 70 security incident response teams. As part of this, we have partnered with ITUD to deliver the Joint Integrated Cyber Analysis Project. This project has focused on helping partner countries develop better national cybersecurity capacity, strategy and governance. It also delivered improvements to the security and resilience of government systems and critical national infrastructure. The UK is passionate about digital development. Whether or not we are fortunate enough to be elected to the Council this year, I can pledge today that the United Kingdom will work tirelessly to support the ITU to do all it can to connect the unconnected and bridge the global digital divide. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. I hope to see you in person later this year, notably at the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference in September. Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm sad not to be with you in Kigali today, but delighted to address this important gathering.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Mr. Gaskell, for being here. I think we can start to see the numbers are already starting to add up. It's really interesting to process to see the pledges. Our next speaker is Mr. Tolupe Nuku Onesimo, Minister of Communication and Information Technology of the Independent State of Samoa. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Honorable Ministers, Head of Delegations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure and indeed a privilege to be part of this Partner to Connect Roundtable discussion this afternoon. Here in this wonderful part of the world, Kigali, Rwanda. Your Excellencies, that brings to, on that note, I take the opportunity to thank and congratulate the government and the people of Rwanda for the efforts and the hospitality. We also like to acknowledge the hard work of the Secretariat, SG, Ms. Harleen, and the ITU team for this successful event. Your Excellencies, the government of Samoa fully support the Partner to Connect Digital Coalition, and our pledge is on the developing relative policies, adopting regulations, and define sustainable financial models to provide affordable and secure access to ICT services for free to education and health services by 2030. This pledge comes with a vision to ensure small island states such as Samoa achieve its Sustainable Development Goals 2030. The government of Samoa has begun its digital transformation journey, which includes a number of digital developments initiated over the years, aiming to improve access, resilience, and affordability. While coverage in Samoa is high, the challenge of affordable and secure access was recognized as a Pacific challenge. And the commitment of government and stakeholders across the Pacific to work together and strive for the common vision that is the digital Pacific. This is a WTDC Partner to Connect initiative. Is very timely, and this allows us an excellent opportunity to help our Pacific Island states, not only to improve local, but across border connectivity, build multi-stakeholders consensus on how we can work together towards our government vision and digital inclusion by ICT developments. These aspirations will be accelerated with Samoa's joining as a member of the Partner to Connect. Your Excellencies, let me conclude my remarks by introducing Samoa's candidates to the PP22 election, Ms. Ngisa Fotai Prasal for post of the Deputy Secretary General to ITU. Her experience of 35 years in the ITU and also in the CTO will definitely a value to ITU. In the ITU's 135 years of history, there had never been anyone from small island states in the ITU senior management. I strongly believe Ngisa, Samoan chief, has the potential and experience, skills, and a woman touch to provide great strategic vision and leadership to the ITU. With that, I wish you all the very best in our deliberation and way forward during this forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now from the Pacific back to the continent of Africa, our next speaker is His Excellency Mr. Jacob Korok, Deputy Minister of ICT and Postal Services from South Sudan.
Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Mr. Moderator, as I thank you for this opportunity, allow me to start by extending appreciation of the Republic of South Sudan to the government and people of Rwanda for the great hospitality shown to us and for working together with ITU to organize this wonderful conference, which is the first WTDC to be held in Africa. South Sudan became independent in July 2011 after 20 years of civil war. Those years of war seriously impacted the country's general infrastructure, including telecommunication. The leadership from the onset has been determined to deliver connectivity to the remote areas. To achieve this, the Ministry of ICT and Postal Service launched a massive campaign to survey the country state by state to identify critical areas that need connectivity. These surveys are done in collaboration with the operators, and findings are used for planning and quantifying connectivity requirements. The government then utilized Universal Service Access Fund to cover infrastructure costs, while the operators cover the network equipment costs. To support this initiative, the President in July last year announced the government plans to incentivize investors and accelerate infrastructure development by granting tax exemptions on network equipment and the other telecommunication tools. Plans are also underway to exempt consumers' electronic from the taxations and seek the partnership with a credible mobile phone and manufacturer to provide affordable mobile phone of good quality to rural population. From the program inception to date, 40 network sites have been deployed and put on air. Over the next 4 years, the government of South Sudan, through these programs, intends to support the deployment of more than 200 network sites in rural areas and avail connectivity to about 5 million individuals. The initial cost of this program is estimated at 60 million USD and will be scaled up continuously due to a critical importance of rural connectivity in South Sudan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. An ambitious program in challenging conditions, for sure. Wonderful to hear. Our next speaker is His Excellency Mr. Rovshan Rustamov, Deputy Minister of Digital Development and Transport, Azerbaijan.
Thank you, dear moderator, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to express my gratitude to all participants, and especially to the Secretary General and his entire team for making this event possible to exchange opinions and hold discussions on innovative approach and new collaboration models to close global connectivity and usage gaps. It's worth to note that the event also provides an opportunity for us to announce our pledge that address areas of digital development in our country also. As Madame Doreen mentioned, 250 pledge, it's a very huge amount actually, and we wanted to enrich this number, and 2 pledges we provided for this campaign. We have initially submitted the digital transformation pledge as our first pledge. The major aim is to ensure the application of digital technologies and create affordable connections for their users, which will ultimately increase the quality of public administration and citizens' well-being. It's believed to contribute to the national economic growth, not limited to the maturity of businesses in the line with fourth industrial revolution. With this aim, the main priorities are set as efficiency in public services, quality and transparency of services to citizens, improvement of entrepreneurship and human capital, science and technology, and finally, the rating of digitalization of the country in the region and globally. Our next and second pledge is related to smart city and smart village, where the implementation of these initiatives aim to ensure economic, social, and environmental sustainability and efficiency. The increasing speed of urbanization and the reconstruction plan of our territories, which were the occupation during 30 years, urge smart solutions and demands for the inclusivity of remote areas in digital economy. These 2 initiatives cover the areas of efficiency, effective management of transportation, digital mapping of tourism destinations, smart agriculture and farming management, use of alternative and renewable energy sources, minimization of water waste, integration of healthcare and patient records, and finally, technology-based education. The realization of above-mentioned projects will help reduce the digital divide in the country. We also open to cooperation, ready to use your experience, which at the same time to learn from your experience. Concluding my intervention, I would like to highlight ITU's critical role for consolidating potential of member states in addressing major development challenge. Knowing that as a member of country and member of council, we place our strong commitment to continue the cooperation within the ITU towards achieving global development goals and accelerate programs. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Excellency. Our next speaker is Mr. Mohammed Al-Tamimi, His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Al-Tamimi, who's the Governor of Communications and Information Technology Commission, Saudi Arabia. Floor is yours.
Thank you, the moderator. I think you are doing a great job for pronunciation. So I will deliver my intervention in Arabic. So for those who want to put the headphone into translation. While you're doing that, we already have a side talk with Doreen around women empowerment, and His Excellency, the Prime Minister of Luxembourg, talk about how he's proud of having women in the previous panel. And I can share with you one number in Saudi Arabia, that the women workforce percentage in Saudi Arabia exceeding 28% working in the ICT sector. And by that, we are surpassing the EU and G20 average. So if you could join me a round of applause for all women working in ICT. أصحاب المعالي الوزراء المسؤولين المنتخبين ورؤساء الوفود السيدات والسادة السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يطيب لي بالبداية أن أتقدم بالشكر لحكومة جمهورية رواندا لاستضافتها الكريمة لهذا الحدث المهم، ويسعدنا أن نرى انعقاد المؤتمر العالمي لتنمية الاتصالات في إفريقيا للمرة الأولى. ولا تفوتني الإشادة بالعمل الدؤوب الذي يقوم به معالي الأمين العام للاتحاد الدولي السيد هولينزاو، وأيضا مديرة مكتب تنمية الاتصالات السيدة دورين. السيد الرئيس، تولي المملكة اهتماما خاصا بتهيئة وتطوير البنية التحتية الرقمية، ونؤمن بأهمية بناء الشراكات من أجل تحقيق أهدافنا المشتركة وتوفير التنمية المستدامة. ومن أجل ذلك أنشأنا في المملكة العربية السعودية لجنة التنظيمات الوطنية بهدف توفير بيئة تنظيمية متجانسة وتحقيق الموائمة في تنظيم الموضوعات الرقمية المشتركة بين الجهات المعنية للتحول نحو التنظيم التعاوني. كما عملنا بالشراكة مع الاتحاد على عدد من المشاريع والمبادرات كمبادرة التوصيل من أجل التعافي Connect to Recover لتعزيز البنى التحتية الرقمية في البلدان التي تضررت من وباء فيروس كورونا. قد ولت المملكة اهتماما خاصا بالاستدامة وجعلتها من المحاور الرئيسية رؤية المملكة 2030 والتي خلصت من خلالها إلى وضع خطوات واسعة في جوانب رئيسية في مجالات التنمية البشرية، حيث بذلت شتى الجهود للاستثمار في مواردها البشرية، وقد عززت تلك الجهود بحرص القيادة الرشيدة واهتمامها المستمر بتنمية القدرات والاستثمار في رأس المال البشري، والذي يعد ميزة مهمة في بناء مستقبل مشرق وواعد للجميع. وإيمان منا بأهمية أن يمتلك الفرد المهارات وليست فقط المعارف، فقد شاركت المملكة في فعالية في دعم الشباب من خلال مبادرة Generation Connect، والتي تهدف إلى تشجيع مشاركة الشباب العالمي إلى جانب قادة التغيير الرقمي وتزويدهم بالمهارات والفرص للنهوض برؤيته مستقبل متصل. إن المملكة العربية السعودية منذ أصبحت عضواً في الاتحاد الدولي للاتصالات عام 1949 وفي مجلسه الموقر عام 1965، وهي تسخر إمكاناتها وخبراتها البشرية لدعم أنشطته والمشاركة في محافل مختلفة. وأؤكد أن بلادي وبدعمكم المعهود عازمة على مواصلة جهودها لمساندة الاتحاد واستمرار مواكبته للمستجدات والمتغيرات، وذلك من خلال إعادة ترشحها لعضوية مجلس الاتحاد وعضوية لجنة لوائح الراديو أثناء انتخابات مؤتمر المندوب المفوضين العادل القادم. وفي الختام أرجو من الله تعالى أن تتكلل أعمال المؤتمر بالنجاح لما فيه خير شعوب العالم كافة. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you so much, Excellency. Our next speaker will join us by video address, Ms. Jutta Urpilainen, who's the Commissioner for International Partnerships at the European Commission. But sitting in for her here to introduce that video address is Mr. Peter Marion from the European Commission as well, who is the team leader of digital governance. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. The European Union launched the Global Gateway, our new global connectivity strategy, this past December. The EU aims to mobilize 150 billion euro for investments in Africa in 6 sectors, whereby digital is a priority sector. Working with our partners, the private sector, and innovative financial tools, we aim to attract investments along with EU grant funding. Global Gateway is about increasing investments, promoting democratic values and high standards, good governance and transparency, equal partnerships, green and clean, secure infrastructures that catalyze also private sector investment. Apart from working together on policy and an enabling environment and skills in digital education, the EU envisages investments in, amongst others, submarine and on-land fiber optic cables, last mile connectivity, and green and secure data centers. The programming of our financial instruments is finalized, and we are building partnerships to identify concrete investment opportunities. I am happy to share with you a message from our Commissioner for International Partnerships, Mrs. Jutta Urpilainen. So this is a video message.
World Telecommunication Development Conference comes at a crucial moment. The pandemic clearly showed how digitalization helped economies and societies to be more resilient. We know that digital will be at the heart of global prosperity. For this reason, the EU promotes accessible, inclusive, and secure digital connectivity that puts people first. Through Global Gateway, the EU offers sustainable high standard investments in hard and soft digital infrastructure. We connect Europe and partners across the globe based on values which also apply to the internet. An open, secure, and global internet is what is needed to cope with new and future developments and to foster innovation and growth. To achieve this, we need to work together in the digital space. EU fully supports the ITU Partner to Connect initiative. A multi-stakeholder alliance helps to bring meaningful connectivity and digital transformation globally, especially to least developed countries, landlocked developing countries, and small island developing states. We look forward to collaborating in this initiative to ramp up investment in digital ecosystems, connect people, and empower communities.
Thank you, Ms. Urpalainen, and thank you, Peter, for being here. Our next speaker is Mr. Tua Mote, who is the chairman of the board of directors, INCM Mozambique. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and all the present here panelists, Your Excellencies and dear distinguished delegate. Mozambique actually pledged to commit to achieve the goal of SDG and the digital inclusion. Mozambique has around 30 million of population, the majority of them living in a very rural area with a very low purchase power. That's why make this challenge of communicating, putting digital infrastructure very challenging. It has been also difficult for the government to incentivize the private operator to deploy telecom infrastructure in that area. That's why the government has taken several actions from the regulatory perspective and policy defining. One of the actions was to start using Universal Access Fund. Since 2018, we are implanting public Wi-Fi, free public Wi-Fi to several communities, schools, and so far we have connected 91 schools and public squares. But the price for connecting these places are very expensive. If you can imagine, we are paying yearly 1.3 million to connect just 19 sites. So that's why this year, for the first time in Africa, we awarded a license to the global internet operator, SpaceX, which we call Starlink Mozambique, that will be delivering internet access to in Mozambique. So with this money, we can connect all the unconnected. We are planning to connect until 2024, more than 600 schools and also public squares. Additionally, also, we are concerned that all these services must be delivered with high quality of services. Also, we are worried about the need for spectrum from the industry. So we decided to refarm the spectrum, and then we are giving the operator more 2 megahertz in the 3G, so to make each block 10 megahertz for each operator. Another action that we have taken is we have reserved spectrum from the possible fourth operator, but this spectrum is sitting, no one is using. Now we are introducing the model of leasing this operator to make available for the operator. So these are the pledges that we will make efforts so that everybody must be connected, because even people living in the rural area, if everything goes digital, they must not be left behind. And thank you.
Thank you, sir, and congratulations on the ambitious vision and commitment. We're going to turn now to the private sector. One of the things that makes Partner to Connect so special is that it is a multi-stakeholder coalition, and we have several members of the private sector here who are going to speak about their pledges as well. So our first speaker is in that group is Mr. Hans Matthias Boss, who is the General Manager, RNS Rwanda branch, and Business Development Director, Africa for Roden Schwartz, Germany. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon, dear honorable ministers, dear honored customers, business partners, friends of Roden Schwartz, and colleagues. Yesterday, we celebrated the official opening of our Roden Schwartz Software Development Laboratory in Rwanda. We actually celebrated just here at the Kigali Convention Center, and we had the honor, His Excellency, President of the Republic of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, as part of this inauguration. Also, my thanks and gratitude to the ITU organization team to allow us to make use of one of the conference rooms here at KCC for this inauguration while the opening of the ITU WTDC convent. Today, I would like to share with you some experiences we have made from a practical perspective here in Rwanda with the first of its kind software development lab for Roden Schwartz in Africa. You will say, why experience if the inauguration was yesterday? Well, we actually opened the office already in December 2019, but due to COVID, we had to delay the official inauguration until yesterday. The laboratory contributes to push innovation in the industrial Internet of Things, IIoT development at the global level, and we have the right experience in Rwanda to develop homegrown solutions for the African market and beyond. We are super impressed about the exceptional motivation, excitement, and creativity which comes from our local employees. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank them for their excellent contribution to improve our products and solutions. With all that said and the experience we have made, we will expand and double the number of our current software development engineers at our office here in Kigali. To keep pace with that growth, we need to educate and train our employees. And I would like to quote Nelson Mandela, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." At Roden Schwartz, we invest into people's personal development. We invest in the most precious resource we have got, and this is building capacity for the sake of our people and the company's future. Furthermore, last year, we finished training programs focusing on Rwandan IT engineers and engineers from the National Cybersecurity Authority, NCSA, providing programming skills, knowledge about network protocols, and network analytics. 37 students received a certificate from Roden Schwartz, and the best from the courses were offered an internship in our branch office in Rwanda. As a result, more than 50% of the students out of the 37 found a job or started their own business after the training. Finally, I would like to thank the Rwandan government and our partners from QT Global Software, Smart Africa, and ITU for their continuous great and reliable support and collaboration to further create jobs, focus on capacity building. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Some excellent local commitments there. That's fantastic. Our next speaker is Mr. John Giusti, who is the Chief Regulatory Officer and Head of Advocacy for GSMA. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Robert. Excellencies, distinguished delegates. At the GSMA, we work very hard to unite the entire global mobile ecosystem around a shared vision, unlocking the full power of connectivity so that people, industry, and society thrive. So let me first say that it is definitely a genuine privilege to participate on this panel today, as the ambitions and objectives of the Partner to Connect so closely align to our own core mission. Our belief, backed up by our experience, is that multi-stakeholder action is really foundational to digital transformation. So I commend the ITU's vision with Partner to Connect and for the inspiring action-oriented partnerships we're already hearing in the first panel session, bringing together, of course, both the public and private sector. Today, mobile is the primary and often the only way that people in many parts of the world connect to broadband. And I'm pleased to say that more than half of the world's population is now connected to broadband via a mobile network. But of course, the flip side of that is that almost half the world's population is not. Through extensive network investment, we've made great progress on closing the coverage gap, those living in areas without any broadband connectivity. And that's down from 24% in 2014 to only 6% today. But the vast majority of people who are not connected, and then we're talking over 3 billion people here, live in areas that are covered by broadband networks, and they're just not using them. We need to be creative together to find ways to tackle this usage gap, removing the barriers that are preventing people from using broadband. At the GSMA, we've been inspired by Partner to Connect to do more towards closing this usage gap from two angles. Firstly, we're strengthening our commitment to address shortages in digital literacy and skills, which is a major barrier to digital inclusion. And second, we're focused on building capacities for marginalized groups and for communities in underprivileged areas. Specifically, we commit to the following actions. First, through our Connected Women Commitment Initiative, we are mobilizing mobile operators to reduce the gender gap in digital and financial inclusion, and will aim to increase the number of women reached through the initiative to 60 million by 2025. Second, we're partnering with the ITU, EY, and the Women's World Wide Web to design and provide access to free gender transformational foundational IT skills training and e-mentoring for 1 million women and girls by 2026 through the Her Skills Digital Skills Initiative, powered by Equals Global Partnership. Third, we are partnering with Buffalo Grid to deliver skills content in Nigeria and Bangladesh and aim to reach more than 200,000 people by the end of this year and more than 1 million people by the end of the first half of 2024. And fourth, we are partnering with the Telecom Regulatory Authority of Pakistan to deliver mobile internet skills training in Urdu with a commitment to reach 200,000 people. At the same time, we are also continuing our commitment to capacity building, and by the end of 2022, we'll commit to deliver free training to 300 policymakers and regulators. Partnership is really the only way that we're going to make progress here, and I really thank you for the opportunity to participate today, and more importantly, for inspiring us with Partner to Connect. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I couldn't agree more. Partnerships are the only way we're going to get where we want to go. Our next speaker is Mr. Goran Marby, who's the CEO of Icon, Sweden. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I'm really honored to be on this panel, but I'm also very happy to see you. You might not know that, but you actually meet me several times a day on many different devices, and sometimes in very odd hours per day. Because every time you go online, you hit about something that originates from me, of my technical partners. Because what we do is to provide everybody what is the groundwork of the internet itself, the IP addresses, the IP protocols, and the domain names, which is a necessary function for you all to connect. And thanks to you, you actually created the biggest global community ever existed in world history, with 5 billion users, the interoperable internet, where everyone can go online, anywhere in the world, without having anyone asking questions. Actually, just 2 years ago, 1.5 years ago, it was the biggest internet day ever. It was 8.5 trillion questions during one day into the system. I have no why. I don't know why at all, because we don't have nothing to do what you actually do with your internet or which kind of connectivity we use. And I think that's a success. If someone had told me that 30 years ago, I wouldn't have believed it. But there are things we still need to do. Well, for instance, we have to work to make our internet more local as well. And that's why, and I want to thank you, Doreen, for this. She really convinced us to bring the technical community together to the ITU. And it's an astonishment by itself. So we're making for the first time ever a pledge for this. And the pledge is very technical and very simple. One of the groundworks of the system is what we call the country code operators. You all know them because you're all using them. It's the identification of your country on your internet. There are many good ones, but unfortunately, here in Africa and in other places, there are still countries that need to develop them better. Because without that, you won't have a local economy. You won't have a local digital economy because it's so fundamental to make it work. So what we're going to do now is, together with our partners here in Africa, we're going to do a special attention to 10 of them in the underdeveloped countries to create processes, regulations, and works. And also make sure that the power of that stays within the country. Because one of the benefits of the internet, as it's decided today, is that a country and a region actually makes all the decisions how this internet works. So thank you, and I'm really proud to make this historical pledge. And again, I want to thank Doreen for all the help we get. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our final speaker is me. Get to tell you about UNDP's pledges, which are in two areas. Since 2019, UNDP has been undergoing a corporate level digital transformation of our own organization so that we can serve our 170 partners around the world in a better, more effective way, particularly as they go through the challenges that have been mentioned. Some of them have been mentioned here, because we do see digital inclusion, leaving no one behind in the digital, in this digital effort, in the bridging the digital divide is so critical to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. So our pledges are in two main areas. The first is around our support in working with our partners on inclusive digital transformation. This is about building a strong digital inclusive ecosystems that are leaving no one behind and are really enabling development outcomes. And so this is a lot of work that we do in assessing digital readiness, planning together with governments on digital transformation strategies, and then helping them execute also and implement those strategies, also using that as a platform of partnership. And our pledge is that by the end of 2023, we will have worked with 70 countries worldwide on this work. The second area is around developing and scaling digital public goods, digital public infrastructure. And this is part of our commitment as well to the Digital Public Goods Charter, which is going to be spoken about over the course of these few days, a number of times. And it's all about how can we ensure that we are leveraging digital public goods to their maximum impact and introducing and building this ecosystem of digital public goods. So our pledge is that we will explore this issue with 50 countries by the end of 2023, I think, I didn't write it down here. And that with 10 countries, we'll work delivering technical assistance to implement digital public goods. And with 5 countries, we will work, rather with 5 digital public goods platforms, we will work to develop those and have them enter into the public domain. With that, I want to thank all of the speakers so much for their pledges, their commitment. Congratulations on all of those. I think it really does become real when we hear it out loud and together. And I'm really, really looking forward to moving from pledge to action with all of you in partnership. So thank you very much. And with that, we close this panel and back to Fiona.
Thank you so much, Robert, and thank you so much to all our distinguished speakers of the high-level panel 1. A round of applause as our distinguished speakers exit the stage. And now for our next session, I hand over to my colleague, David Kirkpatrick. He is the editor-in-chief of Techonomy Media. He will take you through today's spotlight sessions. I will see you again later on today at 4:45 p.m. for high-level panel 2. David, the floor is yours.
Okay, you can hear me. I'm David Kirkpatrick. The seat is mine. Could the speakers for this session please join me on stage? We now have a short spotlight for 15 minutes to talk about the role of connectivity in education, one of the critical areas for development. And you'll see there are enormous opportunities for partnering around education. So I want to just say quickly, I'm David Kirkpatrick. I'm a journalist. Please sit up here, guys. Paula. Based in New York, and I've had the honor of moderating a number of the P2C sessions since September. And it's wonderful to be doing it here in person. I'm feeling tremendous energy here at this session. The whole P2C program is just extremely dynamic. Very, very impressed. So this September, at the 77th UN General Assembly, Secretary General will convene the Transforming Education Summit. And in order to learn more about that, I'd like to turn to Fayez King, who is Deputy Executive Director for Field Results and Innovation at UNICEF. So Fayez.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. The GIGA initiative and Transforming the Education Summit go hand in glove. The GIGA program started in 2019 as a collaboration between UNICEF and the ITU. And again, a big thank you to the ITU, a big thank you to Doreen and team. Within this very short space of time, we were able to map 1.3 million schools and understand where the schools were. When we started, we asked ourselves a question: how many schools are there in the world? And nobody could give us that answer. So GIGA went out and we decided to focus on three things. The first thing was mapping. We had to map each and every school to understand where the schools are. The second aspect would be arranging the financing. How are we going to fund, or how are we going to connect these schools? And then the third item was to actually go out and do the procurement. But to do this, we need partners. The first round of partners was basically between the ITU and UNICEF. And the ITU have been fantastic partners in mobilizing the member states, in getting them organized, and also getting them interested, especially in the regulatory framework, as to how we were going to do this. The second step that we did was also to bring in our private sector partners, thanks to Ericsson, thanks to Dell, and also thanks to International Towers and the Musk Foundation, who've been supportive in providing the technology and the know-how of how to connect schools. On the financing, we worked with the Islamic Development Bank. We also worked with the World Bank, the Brazilian Universal Services Fund, where we managed to unlock some $300 million to connect schools. And we've worked with others and will continue to work with them. But it's important we look for innovative ways of financing. With this respect, we've looked at NFTs, where we were able to raise $1 million to connect schools. We've looked at cryptocurrencies, where we've been able to use cryptocurrencies to pay for connecting schools. We cannot rely on traditional methods or methodologies for connecting schools. We also looked at procurement. It's important we assist member states on how best to procure. We did 13 test case procurements, where 1 million children are actually benefiting from the connectivity from these procurement test cases. And some of them are right here in Rwanda. We've worked with member states and we've worked very closely to do this. In the Transforming Education Summit, it's important that we look very closely at connectivity. Our ask from you, from member states, is to join us, to advocate, to talk about connectivity, to put connectivity in the forefront, because without connectivity, you cannot get onto the internet. We saw this during COVID. We saw this when we had 1.3 billion children out of school and unable to learn. So with this, I'd like to share with you a short video, if you allow me, and to give you a flavor of what GIGA is all about.
In future, I want to be a doctor. I want to study computer hardware engineering. I want to study computer engineering to automate my own business.
Internet has been a game changer, even in the performance
and even the grades of our students here in school. So now many of them, because they can learn on their own, they can discover things on their own, their attitude has changed greatly. The learning becomes more interesting because there are different ways of accessing the same information.
We get to introduce a lot of new things to the children. They are very excited about using internet and using technology now, even more because it's not just about playing a game and meeting their friends, but it's about learning. So it is really, really exciting for the children. They can't wait to get online to meet with the teachers to find out what's going to happen today, what are we going to do today, where are we going to go today, because we are connected via the internet.
Our pledge, David, is to connect every school and every child to the internet. Thank you so much.
Wow. Could not think of a better pledge. Thank you so much for that, Fayez. And I think the GIGA is an extraordinary example of public-private partnership. You saw the partners listed there on the screen. Extremely important. And now I'm very, very pleased and honored to introduce a special guest who is with us today to talk about education as an educator. He is a Rwandan high school teacher. His name is Isaac Ntirampeba. Did I say that roughly right? Okay. He's a biology, ICT, and physical education teacher at the I said it before, Nyagihunika School, Musenyi Bugesera district in Rwanda. And Isaac, it is such a pleasure to have you here. We really, really, really honor people like you who devote your life to teaching. So you are working in a school that's part of the GIGA program, which is very exciting, sort of early on the journey of GIGA in your school, but you have really been using connectivity with your students already. Talk a little bit about how connectivity makes a difference for you and your students. And pull that, yeah, press the button at the bottom and then hold that mic right up to your face. The gray button down there.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I am a teacher in secondary school from GS Nyagihunika. Now, actually, we are benefiting from here a Giga project connection is like 3 months since March. But this one has changed the way or approach in which we use while teaching, because actually we get access on unlimited learning resources material through the internet. Whereas before, only we were based on the hand, especially hard books or hard papers. But actually, while the approved book by the REB are under process of printing, now we can access e-books from the REB websites. Also, the lesson has become more interacting on behalf of the runners, because runners will be especially using at the same time audio and also video information, especially to increase their knowledge. They can also share the ideas, because we give them some of the topics, because here we're still waiting to get the smart classrooms. Now we borrow from our fellow teacher some laptops, like 5. We make a group of 5 or 6 in classroom. Now the runners will be there sharing the internet and also get access on the research. Also, runners are also getting especially updated by getting new information, because they can also get or search for here some tutorial for some subjects. Now they can run themselves through the tutorial. Also, in other issues is that from this, the teacher also will be getting self-developments, because if you have there some information in which you miss, you can there go to check instead of there waiting to go to check in the books. I think this will be a benefit for our school, because will help especially the students because we are in rural areas. There is no many cyber cafe. Now, when the runners are moving from the school, which have the smart classrooms, did not get lost because they are already familiar within the laptops. Also, that has increased the awareness or here, especially primary teacher. We are no longer using the computers because the computers was not available, but actually they are familiar with the computer. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Really important work, and I just hope we can follow you as you continue your journey. And you're very good at this, by the way.
Thank you.
So next, let me turn to Chris Fabian, who is co-lead for Giga at UNICEF.
Thanks, David. Thank you, everyone. I want to ask you a sort of weird question for one of these conferences. Can you pick up your phone? I want you to be on your phone the whole time I'm talking. I know we already all are anyway, but just take your phone. There should be a slide for me. If we can bring up the slide. And if you see that address on their projectconnect.world, just go to that address while I'm talking. It may overload the internet here, so you may get it later on in the afternoon. But I'd like you to go to that website, projectconnect.world, and look for your favorite country, or your least favorite country, or the country where you're from. Could all be the same one. And I'd like you to explore that map while I talk. The whole idea of Giga started with this very simple question. And in fact, Greg Weiler, I don't know if he's here now, but I saw him earlier today. Greg and I and Doreen were talking a few years ago about how you could start to connect every school in the world. And we realized that you needed this point of truth. You needed a map like the one you see above, the one you saw in the video that Fayez talked about. Each dot on there is a school. If you look at Brazil or you look at Rwanda or the 19 other countries on that map, you see real-time data about schools. Schools that are green are well connected. The ones that are red are schools where there's no connectivity at all. And it refreshes. Every 4 hours, you get new data for 50,000 of those schools. So imagine that in your country, you can see a real-time map of where there's possibility for students for the future, where there's opportunity and choice, and where there isn't. And if you look at Brazil, if you look up in the Amazonas, in the region up in the north, if you look at parts of Rwanda, you can see places where there's an awful lot of red. Minister Paula has been one of our greatest advocates and was telling me yesterday how important it's been just to see the images on the map. She was with us in that first meeting 2-3 years ago when we started talking about the map, just to be able to visualize and show and then count and quantify the lack of opportunity and lack of future and how important it's been in decision making. So we'd invite you to dig a little bit deeper into this. It's only the first step of school connectivity, but it's so important. And we heard from Mozambique just now. We've heard from so many other countries today of how many exciting things there are that are going on. But we'd like to add to the pledge that Fayez made and really pledge to find every school in the world, the other 6 million or so, and make sure that they're all mapped, they're all online, and you're able to use this for your policy advocacy and contracting in the years to come. Thank you very much. And Tariq, it's great to see you online too, another one of our advisors. Thanks, David.
Thank you so much, Chris. And now we have a virtual speaker. Joining us is His Excellency Dr. Tariq Al-Gurg, who is CEO and Vice Chairman of Dubai Cares and Focus Area Leader for the Partner to Connect Digital Coalition. So Tariq, please, so happy you were able to connect, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, David. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good. There was an issue technically on the link. There was no link, so it took time. I couldn't hear the other speakers except for probably Chris, and Chris, good seeing you again as well. Well, David, look, the World Economic Forum this year, that got concluded just last week or the week before, put the spotlight on a statistic that poses one of the biggest threats to human progress and development. Nearly 3 billion people are still offline. That's 37% of the total human population. We already know how hard the last 2 years have been for the education sector globally, especially in terms of the disruptions and challenges that negatively affected learners and educators from all over the world. Now, as leaders and policymakers, we are here today to talk about the opportunities and learnings that COVID-19 presented us with. And if there's something that we should be proud of, it is how swiftly we came together as a community to prioritize learning and agree amongst ourselves that education needs to be shock-proof to account for any other unexpected turmoil. We also know for a fact that connected technologies and edtech will be the main drivers for the development of a more resilient education system. Let us also not forget that well-applied digital technologies can help find new ways of teaching and learning that do not always rely on people being in one location. They can also contribute towards more effective administration of education systems and probably facilitate innovation, as well as empower teachers and learners in the most meaningful ways. If you can ask me what's key, David, collaboration and meaningful partnerships are the only way forward if we are able to work together and if we are to transform education globally. And let's not forget, last December, Dubai Cares launched the Rewired Global Declaration on Connectivity for Education during the Rewired Summit in Dubai at Expo 2020. And it was a partnership with UNESCO and the involvement of the two entities that are present with us today in this panel, UNICEF and ITU, amongst others. This is a true example of the effective partnerships that I mentioned earlier. We are confident that this declaration will also serve as a framework for better coordination and resource mobilization in this field. And as we move towards operationalizing the declaration, it is very important to highlight and support some of these mega initiatives that are already showing impact on the ground, such as GIGA and Partner to Connect. Let's not forget the rising entity that is shining now, which is also the Edison Alliance, which is under the World Economic Forum. Dubai Cares has always been supporting these initiatives, David, right from the outset, because we strongly believe in their vision and their transformative potential. And now we have another golden opportunity at hand with the upcoming UN Transforming Education Summit, where we can galvanize strong global support using connectivity and technology to prevent any further collapse of our education systems in the face of any new large-scale disruption similar to what we witnessed with COVID-19. And I would like to conclude that I want to actually to emphasize, David, that we're all collectively responsible to push for more convergence and better alignment for increased connectivity. Connecting the dots to foster digital transformation should be a key priority moving forward. While connectivity itself cannot serve as a solution to tackle education gaps, it can be harnessed as a tool with technology to enhance education when leveraged with the right resources and partners, of course. So let's all work together so we can be called the generation that actually changed our present and shaped our tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tariq. It's really true. We are all responsible. So we heard from the front lines of Rwandan education from Isaac, and now let's zoom out for the national government perspective from our good friend, Her Excellency Minister Paula Ingabire, who will reflect on what she's heard and make some closing remarks. So Paula.
Thank you, David. I think mine is perhaps going to be an easier job because not only have we heard from people who have carried the vision of GIGA of connecting schools, we've also heard from schools that have benefited from some of the pilot initiatives that are already in place. And perhaps I could also add that when we started talking with both the ITU and UNICEF, we were already well on our way in terms of connecting most of our schools, but it was also evident, and again, I think I talked about it earlier, that without the right partnerships, it was going to be very difficult to close on these gaps in the shortest time possible. And you can imagine if I gave you a bit of statistics looking at over 6,000 schools, and we perhaps had not more than 1,000 schools connected, and that had been work that we had invested in for over 15 years, what that meant if we're going to close the gap on the 5,000 plus schools that were remaining. And also, I know Dr. Tariq talked about the nearly 3 billion people that remain unconnected. This morning at a different session, we were talking about last year, we quoted 3 billion people that remained unconnected. This year, 2.9. So when you look at it in perhaps a space of 1 year, we've only been able to connect 100,000. So what happens to the remaining 2.9 billion? Does it mean and someone quickly did the statistics and was telling us we need about 116 years to connect all the 2.9 billion. Can we afford that? I think is the question we need to address as partners. If we go at the pace, and please remember that because of COVID, there was already accelerated efforts and investments in connecting the unconnected. But at this pace, we still have a long way to go if we're not thinking about creative and innovative ways of doing it. And this is where an initiative like GIGA comes in, because it's not just the broad ambition of connecting unconnected schools, it's also figuring out what are the barriers to connecting these schools, which is really around affordability, which is also thinking about how many schools are connected to electricity infrastructure, and how do you sort of create a strategy that allows for us to have not just innovative, but also affordable ways of connecting these schools. So as a lead, as one of the GIGA lead countries, Rwanda had the opportunity last year of working with both UNICEF and ITU to connect a pilot of 63 schools, 50 of which are in Bugesera district that have already been connected, and you also have 13 that are in refugee camps. And that brings us to the question around how do we make sure that digital inclusion is really at the heart of all the investments that we make as partners, of all the interventions that we make. And so even as we think about the underserved groups, which include refugees, and we'll also talk about people with disabilities, then this is where, you know, the inclusivity agenda is very important. So for me, even in reflection of the partnership that we've had, I'm very grateful for partners like ITU, UNICEF, that really have heeded the call, that are seeing the urgent need to connect, that are understanding the limitations that we may have as governments, but are also making the decision to work with us. Now, it's not just Rwanda. Rwanda may have been one of the lead countries that were selected, but the idea was to prove a concept, and eventually, whether it's ITU, whether it's UNICEF, they work with all member states to figure out how we can pull in the necessary partnerships, the necessary resources to really close on this gap. When I did make a pledge in the earlier session around making sure we connect all our remaining schools, at least within the next 3 years, it's really, I can confidently say that because of a proof of concept that was proven. Seeing that we're able to do it, if we're able to do it with this much resources, then with the right partners on board, we should be able to close on this gap. And so please join me in thanking ITU, UNICEF for really crafting this, visionary leadership. Again, it starts with mapping out your school connectivity needs, because it's difficult to know how much you're going to connect if you haven't done that mapping. It's very essential. So even as a call to action for the other countries is really figuring out what can we do as the very first step of mapping the school connectivity needs and then taking it forward. Finally, I think it may perhaps also do justice to share what has it meant to connect these 63 schools. And the teacher was he did a great job at telling us the benefits around it, because for us, it was not just putting broadband infrastructure in schools, it was equipping the teachers with the digital literacy skills that will allow them to navigate and use these devices, to use the infrastructure that has been given to them. It was giving them the devices that they needed to do so, but it was also being able to work with other startups that are already digitizing the curriculum, the learning material, so that can also be put onto these devices and infrastructure. So it's a whole of a system partnership. It's a whole of a system effort that requires that you're bringing in the development agencies, the governments, startups that are building really amazing edtech solutions, but also giving them a platform where they can test some of these. And so without that kind of, full rounded partnership, it would have been very difficult to even make the necessary investments and close on this. So thank you. And please, once again, join me in thanking all our partners that have made this possible.
Well, thank you, Paula. It's very inspiring to listen to you. You're a visionary government leader. So thank you so much for hosting us here. Well, with that, we conclude this panel, and we're going to have a coffee break. And I thank so much my panelists, and particularly Isaac, for taking a break from teaching to come and join us here today. So thank you to everybody. He can teach remotely, Paula says. Right. We'll resume in this room at 4:35. Right there. I love the intellectual energy in the room, but we're going to get started again in just a moment. So please take your seats for another spotlight session. Tensai, did you hear me? You're supposed to take your seats. What? Oh, you're taking a picture of me? So perhaps my speakers can join me on stage. Fode and Solomon? Oh, come on up. Oh, Solomon's getting photographed, but he's going to come up now. We're here now to talk about advancing the Doha program of action through Partner to Connect. And perhaps if you're not going to be watching the session, you might move your conversations outside, guys. We're starting. Thank you. Okay. Sit down if you can. That would be great. Being recorded. Thank you very much. If you feel like coming a little closer, it'd be nice. Fode would like to see you closer. He's a very touchy-feely kind of guy. So we're talking here about this upcoming session in Doha, and the Doha Program of Action to help LDCs achieve meaningful connectivity. So I'm going to really defer to our speakers to help us understand what that means. And I'll introduce them. We just have two people. This is going to be a little more of a conversational session. So Fode Ndiaye, I didn't say it as well this time, who is UN Resident Coordinator for Rwanda. And Solomon, who likes to go just by his one name, who is the national focal point for Ethiopia. Well, welcome to both of you. Thank you so much. So Fode, tell us a little bit about the Doha conference and what are you hoping to get out of it?
Thank you very much. Is it working?
Yeah, you just got to lean over.
It's okay? Yeah, thank you very much. It will be the fifth conference on the LDCs. What we want to get really is to have an opportunity to recommit after the approval of the Doha Program of Action in March 2022. And of course, because we know that the problem is not lack of frameworks. Problem is how do we commit, how do we implement, how do we deliver, how do we monitor, how do we make sure that results have impact on transforming people's lives. So this is a crucial opportunity for people and institutions who need to deliver on the program of action and its promises to come together. And of course, it will be about partnership. I can come later on this aspect for success. And of course, we'll have a UN system, other international partners, private sector, civil society organization, and of course, politicians and governments and youth representatives. Because I do think that the digital era is kind of intuitive to young people, and they are the one moving really the needles when it comes to that. And the issue and what we want really to achieve is to make sure that what we have committed in the Doha program of action, we implement. And work is already, of course, on the way in all the areas of Doha. And it will be also an opportunity for new announcement and new pledges. We hope even beyond the Doha program of action. And of course, last important aspect, it will be really strengthening the partnerships between the LDCs, between the private sector, between the civil society, to overcome structural challenges that those countries are faced with, but also piggyback on opportunities to really eradicate poverty, achieve structural transformation, and of course, deliver on the SDGs and other commitment that we are having. And we hope by doing so, we'll help more countries graduate, because we are not doing well in graduation. Since 1971, we only have 6 countries who graduated. Can we make it as a speed transformation for graduation? This is what we expect from Doha.
Just one last thing, talk a little bit about Partner to Connect and how you see that dovetailing with the Doha program of action.
I think that this morning you were the one moderating. And as I already mentioned, we'll have in Doha, we expect to have together really civil society organization. And the Doha really is a call for people to make sure that we have a safe, affordable, and meaningful digital connectivity by 2030. And frankly speaking, people and institutions who attended this Partner to Connect discussion this morning and follow up on building network, unlocking opportunities, will not ask this question, because it becomes obvious that we are strongly going to get joint working and long-term partnership. And the Partner to Connect is really, in my humble view, a truly inspiring example. Action on really delivering on from various stakeholders. You know, we are in a complex world, and you need many actors to come together, because they are bringing different capacities, they are bringing different investment, they are bringing innovative tools, they are bringing approaches, and they have a common goal that would really impact the LDCs. And of course, I really want really to have as a call for action for Partner to Connect initiative. And I want all of us to join our efforts to really deliver on that. And that's what I want to really see this partnership going forward, is the private sector, the UN system, other international partners, and the civil society. And I kind of think that when we come together, I think we could build a better world everywhere for everyone. And as they say in Rwanda, Turikumwe, we are together, or Abishize Hamwe Nakibananira. Together, nothing is impossible. And this is what the partnership is a Partner to Connect is about.
Wonderful. That's really great. Partner to Connect really is a breakthrough concept, and I'm so pleased to be helping here today. So Solomon, as the national focal point for Ethiopia, what's your role in ensuring the Doha program of action is implemented in Ethiopia, and what is that going to mean? Gray button at the bottom.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. As a national focal point, looking at the Istanbul program, the implementation of the Istanbul program of action and taking lessons from there, now the Doha program of action has come with 6 concrete goals or priority areas. So as a national focal point, perhaps for the other national focal points here attending this session as well, we should understand what really takes when we say the Doha program of action, and then understand the priority areas. And after understanding the priority areas and internalizing them is also good to mainstream in our cascade in our national planning and budgeting systems, regardless of the supporters which the pledges and supporters which come from our partners. So The first one is to understand them, and then second one is to cascade and plan in mainstream them in our national development plans. And then after that, just to monitor and regularly follow the progresses, and then take lessons from each progress. And then finally, as a focal point, I will use this opportunity to liaison the pledges and commitments made here, and then take back home so that our line ministries or government departments can benefit from these pledges and from these commitments.
So you really see the Partner to Connect initiative really helping you achieve the ambitions laid out in the Doha Program for Action.
Yes, that is right. I mean, for us, just it's good to look at some figures like 3 billion people are not connected, and then if you come to Ethiopia, and not more than 30% of our population is effectively using internet, and then still the mobile subscribers are like 50 to something percent of our population. So this initiative is helpful in terms of addressing or in terms of unleashing the potential of who are not connected. So in this regard, you can see that the digital system or the connectivities, one is an enabler, and then the other is by itself is an opportunity. So in this regard, it enables the other sectors to bring the Doha agenda, for example, the structural transformation, which is a barrier for so many least developed countries. And then this opportunity or this initiative is an enabler to unleash the potential of our population, which is not connected, and then to bring effectiveness and efficiency in our economy. So you can see that to unleash the ICT sector as well, this connectivity is very important. And this initiative for sure will help us. If it's not the only, but it will help us to achieve the Doha agenda.
It's good that so many things are happening all at once. It's really exciting. And I forgot to play the video at the beginning. Is it worth playing the video now? Could we still do that? Yes?
At the front lines of climate change, COVID, and a crisis of debt, the least developed countries are falling further behind. The Doha Program of Action is the blueprint to help them emerge from these crises and build a better, more sustainable future. It tackles the hardest challenges, from poverty to climate change. But to achieve its promise will require significant political will, technology, and investment. Transformational change requires the whole international community to take part, because the least developed countries and those who live in them have enormous potential. They can drive economic growth, food security, a green energy revolution for all of us. LDC 5 in Doha must be where we deliver on this promise and build a new generation of partnerships and coalitions for peace, prosperity, and sustainable development. We'll see you again in 2023. Join us there.
Thank you, Fode. Thank you, Solomon. Really excited about Doha.
Thank you so much, David, for leading us through the spotlight sessions. I'd also like to thank all our speakers. Our distinguished delegates, we have space here at the main auditorium, so kindly feel free to come and join us here at the main auditorium. Or if you're comfortable there, it's also very much okay. So now, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the next part of our program. I would like to invite our speakers for the high-level panel 2 to kindly come and take the stage. Also, welcoming our moderator for this particular session, Mr. Alex Rogers, President of Qualcomm Technology, Licensing and Global Affairs at Qualcomm Inc. You're welcome. You may take the stage. All our speakers, kindly make your way to the stage. You're welcome. Well, Alex, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. Distinguished Excellencies, delegates, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and welcome to High Level Panel 2. My name is Alex Rogers, President of Qualcomm Technology Licensing and Global Affairs. It is my distinct pleasure to moderate this panel composed of great diversity in geography, affiliation, technology interests, and mandate. This digital development session provides member states, the private sector, international organizations, and others with the opportunity to announce their pledges under the Partner to Connect initiative to work to bridge the digital divide and enable digital transformation and meaningful connectivity for all. So without further delay, let us move to the first distinguished panelist and pledge. But I may suggest that you please hold your applause to the end, and we'll work through the pledges and then give everybody a robust round of applause at the end before we break for the end of the day. So first, we give the floor to Mr. John Jack, Deputy Chief Information Officer within the Ministry of the Prime Minister of Vanuatu, and he will introduce a video presentation. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let me take this time on behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Vanuatu to thank the government of Rwanda, the government and the people of Rwanda for the great hosting of this flagship event, which marks our committed efforts towards our greater good. The great showcasing of the African hospitality by the good people of Rwanda displays it all. Vanuatu commits itself and made pledges on Focus Area 1 to commit to connecting people everywhere since 2014, and our Universal Access Policy, and Focus Area 2, adoption, and 3, value creation with our new Smart Island program. Allow me to introduce to the high-level panel discussion our statement by our Honorable Prime Minister, who is the Minister responsible for ICT and Media, Honorable Popular Manwaipo.
Of the ITU member states, ITU Secretary General, Mr. Olin So, ITU directors, distinguished delegates, young leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to you all. I have this great honor to deliver this video address on behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Vanuatu. Mr. Moderator, let me seize this opportunity to thank the ITU and all partners for a truly and wholehearted collaborative effort to foster meaningful connectivity and a digital transformation for all. Mr. Moderator, with a population scattered across some 62 islands and the increased natural events posed by our #1 challenge being climate change, Vanuatu is committed to ensure meaningful connectivity for up to 98% of its population and to digitally transform our communities by ensuring our people are smart in the use of ICTs. Vanuatu has pledged its commitment to support the Partner to Connect through our policy that includes legislative and regulatory frameworks, but Vanuatu cannot do it alone. Mr. Moderator, please allow me to register our sincere gratitude and heartfelt thanks to the ITU, UNCDF, ATP, and the Australian government for their support this far towards our Smart Island program. And we welcome support from other partners. I thank you, Mr. Moderator, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much for that. And as we work through connectivity, meaningful connectivity for all, of course, it's very important to remember climate change and the connection between connectivity, clean energy, and climate change. Next, let's give the floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Ursula Owusu Ekwafo, Minister of Communications and Digitalization, Ghana.
Thank you, Alex. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Ghana is delighted with the commitment ITU members and telecommunications ICT development partners have demonstrated to ensure access, adoption, value creation, and incentivizing investments in the pledges that have been made and are being made. However, it is time to move from rhetoric to action. As you know, Ghana, as a partner to Connect Focus Area Leader, is the first member state to pledge both policy initiatives and financial commitments. We have committed 155 million euros to supplement the Universal Service Funds to boost broadband services in rural areas and narrow the digital divide. As part of the project, 2016 cell sites are being built across the country to connect about 3 million Ghanaians by 2023. A similar amount will be committed for the second phase once the current phase of the Rural Telephony and Digital Inclusion Project is completed. In addition to building this shared infrastructure for rural connectivity, Ghana has also pledged an open spectrum policy to facilitate the usage of any technology to connect more than 6,000 villages across the country, and 3 million Ghanaians will be connected by 2023. We have mandated and are implementing a national roaming policy for any user to access broadband and emergency call services in our rural, unserved, and underserved communities, regardless of their service provider. Furthermore, Ghana commits to enhancing the digital skills to empower its citizens to develop and utilize digital solutions to address social and economic challenges. The government of Ghana has committed $2.6 million to add 2 innovation centers and train 3,000 people by 2024. The annual target for the Girls in ICT program was 1,000 girls, but from this year, we've upscaled it to train 5,000 girls annually from basic to junior high schools and an equal number up to the tertiary level. In addition, we have an agreement with the Smart Africa Alliance, working through the Smart Africa Digital Academy to train up to 22,000 persons by 2023. Our Universal Access Fund Administration operates over 220 community ICT centers across rural communities, which are used for capacity building, skills training, and business advisory services. Ghana is collaborating with ITU and NORAD to train more than 14,000 people by 2023, utilizing this network of CICs. One of the trainers who benefited from this training program, a 26-year-old man from rural Ghana, attended the Generation Connect Youth Summit last week to pitch at the hackathon with his colleagues. The 220 CICs have the capacity to train 105,000 persons annually, and we're seeking collaboration with partners and financiers to deliver digital skills to at least 200,000 people by 2024. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much, Minister. Impressive, specific, and concrete. Next, we give the floor to His Excellency, Mr. Yuji Sasaki, Vice Minister, Internal Affairs and Communications, Japan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. Almost 3 billion people in the world are not connected to the networks. In this regard, Partner to Connect Digital Coalition is an extremely important initiative. Japan considers it is important to develop digital infrastructure, promote DX, and develop human resources. First, with regard to the development of digital infrastructure, Japan, in cooperation with the ITU, launched the Connect to Recover project in October 2020 to strengthen digital infrastructure in developing countries. To date, Japan has contributed over $1 million. In addition, in cooperation with the ITU Asian Office, Japan is promoting projects to develop disaster resilient infrastructure and eliminate the digital divide. We also take the initiative in solving issues by technologies. Over a medium-term period, we will strive to achieve HAPS, high altitude platform system. Secondly, the promotion of DX. We have supported the introduction of ICT services such as e-health and smart agriculture. In this fiscal year, we plan to allocate approximately $7.5 million. We also share best practices, including 5G use cases. Finally, human resource development. Japan has always emphasized human resource development is to maintain and develop ICT environment sustainably. JICA's human resource development programs and cybersecurity capacity building support by Asian Japan Cybersecurity Capacity Building Center are just example. In addition, this year, Japan launched policy and technology training for government officials responding to rapidly developing technologies in various countries. We plan to invest a total of 2.2 million US dollar. We will continue to develop human resources that meet the needs of targeted countries. The use of digital technology must be more inclusive and in harmony with the global environment, which will be able to enjoy the benefits of these new technologies in every corner of the world reasonable and as soon as possible. For this purpose, I would like to pledge improvement of 3 points: promotion of infrastructure development, promotion of DX, and human resource development. Thank you for kind listening.
Thank you so much, Vice Minister. We promised diversity of technology proposals, and I think this panel is delivering. Next, we give the floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Emilia Stominovada, Minister of Digital Transformation, Slovenia, joining us virtually.
Thank you. Distinguished ministers, excellencies, and participants both online and in Kigali. It is a great honor to participate at today's Digital Development Roundtable. The development of telecommunications and digital transformation holds an immense potential to serve the humankind and bring benefits to citizens and businesses alike. Due to the global nature of today's digital space, we can only succeed by working together. I'm delighted to share with you our Partner to Connect commitments and pledges. Our first commitment addresses the digital inclusion. Slovenia's challenges brought us to a knowledge and experiences we would like to share. In the 30 years of the membership in the ITU, we will celebrate this important anniversary on the 16th of June. We have come a long way to connect our citizens and to develop a resilient and inclusive ICT ecosystem. With the act of the promotion of digital inclusion, Slovenia is an example of inclusive digitalization, as this is the first such law in Europe that approaches the promotion of digital inclusion in a systematic and sustainable way. Slovenia is committing 59 million euros to stimulate digital inclusion and raise digital competences. We stand ready to share the knowledge on how to build the regulatory environment and how to prepare the measures to bridge the digital gap. Our second commitment is related to our support for Ukraine. Slovenia is appalled by the acts of Russian aggression against Ukraine. We condemn the attack of a sovereign and independent country. Slovenia was among the co-sponsors of the ITU Council resolution, assistance and support to Ukraine for rebuilding their telecommunication sector, and stands ready to engage further with the ITU to ease the consequences of the war in Ukraine. Republic of Slovenia and Slovenian companies support Ukraine's needs for assistance in ICT equipment and donates ICT equipment estimated in total value of 250,000 euros. Slovenia is also one of the coordinating countries for a donation of 5,000 Starlink kits. Finally, Slovenia is an active partner in EU initiative Digital for Development Hub. While the African Union, European Union D4D Hub is already operational, the D4D Hub for the Latin America and Caribbean region has been launched in December last year under the Slovenian presidency of the Council of the EU and is expected to commence with projects in near future. I would like to thank you for the opportunity to address you and wish you a successful conference in Kigali. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Interesting remarks and the leading the way on legislation and regulation to help with connectivity is an interesting and important point. Next, we also have virtual presentation from Her Excellency Ms. Hanna Tovarkova, Chair of the Board of the Czech Telecommunication Office, the Czech Republic.
Dear Excellencies, Mr. Secretary General, Madam Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, on my own behalf and on behalf of the Czech Republic, I would like to sincerely thank the government of Rwanda and the ITU General Secretary for preparing this conference, and in particular the Partner to Connect initiative. It is my real pleasure to have the opportunity to participate at this absolutely unique roundtable. As a member state that is actually being working with ITU structure from the very beginning, currently also in the Council, we have clearly that good result cannot be achieved with deep involvement, collaboration, and without finding good partnership. Now, let me turn to the main purpose why we are all here today. I wish to introduce you two pledges which make the pledges stem from the knowledge and particular experiences of the Czech Telecommunication Office, a regulatory authority in electronic communication and postal service. Distinguished membership today with pleasure to provide at least 10 internships on spectrum monitoring and consumer empowerment tools at our offices in Prague and Brno, which will be dedicated to share knowledges in development, implementation, and promotion on technical tools for regulatory controls, monitoring, data processing, and sharing of information with consumers. This internship will be particularly focused on connectivity via radio spectrum usage. Secondly, to address more broader audience, we pledge to provide a series of workshops in hybrid format on how to run consumer orientation projects dedicated to the capacity building with focus on vulnerable social groups, working with communities in their local environment and disseminating information towards broad public. My colleagues who have the advantage to be directly in Kigali right now are ready to explain all the details. Coming to my last point, let me highlight regional partnership among the countries. Maybe not so visible as the global ones, but the regional partnerships bring together the closest neighbors. They all bringing down unnecessary barriers and help to improve quality of life of the citizens who might also be neighbors or families living just on the different side of the state border. As a current vice chair of the Eastern Partnership Regulators Network, I must confirm that Eastern Partnership is a great example of such an efficient partnership with taking results. Ladies and gentlemen, I have no doubt that this conference will be a successful one and bring valuable contribution to the global development of telecommunication. Happy to be part of it. Thank you very much for the attention.
Thank you so much for your pledges and for your insights. I next give the floor to Mr. Javier Juarez Mojica, Chairman of the Federal Telecommunications Institute, Mexico, who will deliver his remarks in Spanish.
Gracias. Gracias, Alex. Buenas tardes a todos. En primer lugar, quisiera agradecer a Ruanda por toda la hospitalidad que han mostrado en la organización de este evento y a las autoridades de la Unión Internacional de Telecomunicaciones y Comité Organizador por permitirnos estar aquí y presentar estos 4 compromisos, 4 promesas de México en el marco de esta inspiradora iniciativa Partner to Connect. La primera promesa, el primer compromiso que hacemos tiene que ver, está relacionado con la infraestructura, porque no podemos hablar de transformación digital si no contamos con las redes de telecomunicaciones que brinden esa conectividad. Y en ese sentido, nuestro compromiso es crear este mismo año lo que se llama el Comité de Pequeños Operadores. Se trata de una iniciativa de regulación colaborativa para de manera coordinada con estas pequeñas redes comerciales, redes comunitarias, identificar todas esas áreas de oportunidad, todas esas barreras que puede tener la regulación para que ellos puedan crecer, para que puedan llegar con los servicios a más lugares. Ahora bien, si somos realistas, y aquí viene nuestro segundo compromiso, nuestra segunda promesa, si somos realistas, el mercado no va a resolver todo el problema de conectividad. Habrá lugares a los que nunca va a llegar el mercado. Y en ese sentido, este proyecto que se llama Aldeas Inteligentes y que estará a cargo de la Secretaría de Infraestructura, Comunicaciones y Transportes de México, va a consistir en llevar conectividad satelital a 75 comunidades rurales que hoy no tienen ningún servicio. La idea de este proyecto es que no sea solamente la cobertura, la señal, sino que a la gente se le capacite para usar y aprovechar esa conectividad para generar esto que se ha llamado la conectividad significativa y que es lo que todos queremos, para generar bienestar a la gente, para generar bienestar a la población, que creo que es la meta final de llevar estos servicios a la población. Nuestra tercera promesa tiene que ver con un tema que yo les diría que está sobrediagnosticado, la equidad de género. No podemos seguir realizando diagnósticos, es momento de actuar. En el Instituto Federal de Telecomunicaciones nos estamos comprometiendo a través de un programa que se llama Expertas que Transforman. Es un plan transversal en toda la institución y lo que estamos buscando es dar visibilidad a todas las mujeres que trabajan en la institución a través de cápsulas donde contamos sus historias de vida, que también pueden ser inspiradoras para otras niñas que se quieran involucrar en estos temas de telecomunicaciones, de conectividad, y donde también vamos a tener una serie de cursos de capacitación, no solamente en sus áreas técnicas de experiencia, sino también en otras actividades como la comunicación, manejo de medios. Y finalmente, y qué bueno que hablamos de esto aquí en Ruanda, tiene que ver con la diversidad cultural, porque en México, además del español, tenemos 68 lenguas indígenas, 68 maneras de ver, de entender el mundo, y entonces un compromiso del instituto es a estas comunidades llevarles materiales informativos como los derechos de usuarios de telecomunicaciones o sobre educación digital en sus propios idiomas. Esos son los compromisos que aquí hacemos públicos y en los que estaremos trabajando para hacerlos realidad. Muchas gracias.
Thank you so much for these pledges, Javier. I think we actually agree, coming from the private sector, that the private sector, the market, will not solve all problems, actually will not address all problems. So that's why public-private partnerships are so important. Thank you for your remarks. We next give the floor to His Excellency Engineer Mahed Al-Mismar, Director General, TDRA, United Arab Emirates. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Alex. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon to all of you. First, allow me to begin by thanking the Republic of Rwanda for hosting WTDC 2022 and congratulate them for being the first African country to host this conference for the great opening. For every passing year, we are getting closer to achieving the SDGs in 2030. When I say getting closer, true, slow, but we are moving forward, and that's what we are betting on. We in the United Arab Emirates confirm that we are following the course of this noble human journey with great interest and significance, and take this objective into consideration when developing our strategic national plans and projects. In this context, I'm honored to represent the Telecommunication and Digital Government Regulatory Authority in the United Arab Emirates in making the following pledges. First, in the pillar of internet access, we commit to collect disaggregated data on levels of network deployment and to share experiences on achieving universal connectivity with the ITU, the sector experts for reference in publications. Second, within the same pillar, we commit to connect rural areas by broadband telecommunication technologies by 2026. Third, in the pillar of adoption, we pledge to train 500,000 people through our digital academy by 2025 to improve their digital skills. Fourth, in the pillar of value creation, we pledge to invest $1.5 million to support the International Center of Digital Innovation Initiative through hosting ICODI regional hub for the next 5 years and hosting workshops that enables member states in ICT-based digital innovation. Fifth, we pledge that 80% of our citizens in the UAE would have national digital identity by 2025. Sixth, we commit to coordinate with relevant stakeholders to develop state-of-the-art digital platforms for monitoring the UAE progress in achieving universal connectivity. Last but not least, as I announce these pledges before you today, I reiterate the commitment of my country, the United Arab Emirates, to spare no efforts to achieve the good and development of humanity. I thank you and I wish you a very successful WTDC.
Again, we promised diversity of pledges, and again, I think we're delivering. Your first pledge to collect data and feedback information and learning insights to ITUD is very interesting, and I'm sure very welcome, as are the rest of your pledges. Thank you very much for that. Next, we will have Ms. Preeti Sinha, UNCDF Executive Secretary, with a video message. She's represented here today by colleagues Mike McCaffrey, East and Southern Africa Regional Manager, Jane Jameson, Senior Strategy Advisor, and Rosalind Uwamuharo, Country Lead for UNCDF in Rwanda.
With my time, I would like to make 3 pledges on behalf of the UN Capital Development Fund, UNCDF, that are all in alignment with the 2 key pillars of the Working Group 3, digital innovation and entrepreneurship, and digital economy. First, UNCDF pledges to lead a multi-stakeholder initiative called Digital Futures. Digital Futures will mobilize an international digital and workforce skills partnership ecosystem comprising public and private sector actors as well as educational institutions and donors. Digital Futures will deliver advanced digital and 21st century workforce skills training to approximately 50,000 youth and women and TVET students in multiple LDC locations in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. To support the implementation of Digital Futures, UNCDF has developed a partnership with IBM via the IBM Skills Build, as well as an ecosystem of local organizations to support digital and workforce skills training. Second, UNCDF pledges to lead a multi-stakeholder Digital Catalysts initiative. Digital Catalysts will convene a strategic ecosystem of public and private sector partners, donors, and development banks to accelerate the digitalization of thousands of MSMEs while leveraging digital data to unlock new forms of capital for SMEs. Digital Catalysts will be piloted in Africa and extended to Asia and the Pacific, where it builds on the learnings of UNCDF's previous flagship programs that have supported nearly 80,000 MSMEs. To support the implementation of Digital Catalysts, UNCDF is collaborating with Google, as well as an ecosystem of local organizations to support the MSME digitalization component, with a pilot phase currently underway in East and Southern Africa. Finally, UNCDF pledges to deploy the Inclusive Development Economy Scorecard, IDES, in at least 25 LDCs in Africa, Asia, and the Pacific. The IDES is a policy tool to help governments develop their digital transformation strategies while ensuring that these strategies are inclusive of women and other vulnerable populations. IDES has been piloted in several countries and has already been recognized as an important instrument in promoting inclusivity in digital economies, planning, and resource allocation. IDIS is a demonstrable impact of UNCDF's role in supporting policy and collaboration with the public sector. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Skills training is so fundamental to every pledge here to moving forward, and scorecards are, of course, very interesting as well. Thank you for those pledges. We now give the floor to Mr. Rajiv Suri, CEO of Inmarsat, joining virtually. Sir? I think we have to get volume.
Excellencies, honorable ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for the invitation to the Partner to Connect Digital Coalition Roundtable. I'm Rajiv Suri, CEO of Inmarsat, and I'm honored to be with you today. I look forward to the opportunity to exchange information and ideas on how Inmarsat can make a meaningful contribution to the Partner to Connect Digital Coalition. The work of P2C is important and timely. Engaging stakeholders and mobilizing resources, partnerships, and commitments towards universal and meaningful connectivity is crucial. We know that meaningful connectivity can only become a reality when we all work together. Bringing connectivity to the hardest to connect communities is also key. As CEO of one of the world's leading satellite companies, I know that satellite technology is essential to bringing connectivity to all. Inmarsat is a leader in global mobile satellite communications, operating a system of 14 satellites that provide communication solutions to customers on land, in the air, and at sea. Inmarsat has a long track record of operating reliable global mobile satellite telecommunications networks, sustaining business applications and supporting mission-critical safety and operational applications. As a sector member of the ITU and as a member of the Broadband Commission, Inmarsat is honored and excited to be part of P2C. Today, I'm pleased to talk about Inmarsat's pledge to donate $1.2 million of satellite airtime to P2C. Our pledge was announced on February 24th, 2022, and is directed to focus Area 1, connecting people everywhere. Connecting people everywhere is at the core of our business. Satellite technology is essential to achieving connectivity, particularly in the world's hardest to connect communities. Satellite technology is also essential to preserving and saving lives, particularly when other technologies are not available due to disasters. Through our donation, we are helping to connect individuals and communities in developing nations, including those facing natural and man-made disasters. We applaud the Secretary General and the Director of the BDT for their excellent leadership and for the very important work they're doing with P2C. We hope that together we can make a real difference in reaching universal and meaningful connectivity. We look forward to contributing to the work of P2C, seeing the impact of the coalition and continuing our exchanges. Thank you very much, and let us work together to bring connectivity to all.
Thank you for that generous pledge. And now let's move to give the floor to Ms. Maria Alexandra Velez, Senior Director, Government and Regulatory Affairs, SBA Communications Corporation, United States.
Thank you, Alex. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes, everyone. I'm going to be the last, so I hope to be also the one with the shortest one so you can relax a little bit. Access to information and communication technologies is not only the basis for economic prosperity, it's also an essential support for the exercise of fundamental rights, the rights to education, to work, to health, among others. And the pandemic, as we all know, highlighted this very clearly, but also very painfully. At least a third of the world population still lack connectivity. Imagine how these last close to 3 years have been for them. To address the need for connectivity, governments, wireless operators, and all members of the telecommunications ecosystem as a whole need to come together to reinforce adequate policy and regulatory frameworks and support the investment necessary to bridge the global digital divide. The tower industry, which I represent, is a critical part of the telecommunications ecosystem. Our business model is anchoring the principle of infrastructure sharing and it has proven to be instrumental in accelerating access to quality mobile connectivity for individuals and for businesses in emerging markets. In this context, SBA is proud to be part of Partner to Connect, and our commitment to this initiative includes, among others, to support the understanding and socialization of how the tower industry is instrumental in securing the wireless infrastructure necessary to bring connectivity to rural and underserved areas in a way that is environmentally and financially efficient. Among others, we have commissioned an independent study on the tower industry in Latin America, which will include public policy recommendations on how to incentivize an orderly and efficient deployment of infrastructure that maximizes the benefit of infrastructure sharing, accelerated deployment, reduced investment needs, reduced operation costs, more competition in the wireless market, and minimizing impact for the environment. We are also supporting training workshops for local authorities in the markets where we operate to provide technical support for better permitting and licensing processes for infrastructure deployment. As you all know, deploying infrastructure is basically a municipal and local endeavor. Today, economic prosperity, both at the country level and the personal level, require a strong digital economy. And we are very proud to be part of the ecosystem that's going to make it a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. The tower industry is part of the backbone of cellular, and finding ways to create efficiency in deployment is critically important. So that pledge is very much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all of us, I'd like to thank our distinguished panelists for their pledges and the extraordinary and important work all of them are pursuing. I'd also humbly and briefly add Qualcomm's pledge. For over 30 years, Qualcomm has driven the leading edge of wireless technology development, creating the foundation for cellular systems and enabling the reach of voice and data connectivity, including wireless access to the internet. And for over 15 years, Qualcomm has supplemented its commercial efforts with our wireless reach program, investing in bringing communications technologies to those that need it most, impacting over 24 million people through 130 different projects in 49 countries. And today, Qualcomm is honored to pledge our commitment to work closely with the Partner to Connect initiative and bring wireless technology to an additional 3 million people in the next 3 years through the Wireless Reach program. In doing so, we particularly aim to bridge the digital divide for teachers and students, for healthcare providers and patients, and for micro entrepreneurs and their customers through providing relevant tools and content to drive economic progress, improve health, and prepare students for the digital future of work. We look forward to collaborating with our partners at the ITU. And with that, I want to thank the ITU, the ITUD, and I particularly want to thank Doreen Bogdan-Martin for her tremendous leadership on the Partner to Connect initiative. Please join me in thanking the panelists and everybody for their tremendous pledges.
Thank you so much, Alex. And thank you to all our amazing speakers for today. A round of applause as they exit the stage. Oh, before you leave, let's pause for a quick picture. If we could have the photographers to kindly just get a quick snapshot. Yes. And
Dear participants, we kindly ask you to turn on your camera for those who are joining online.
I would like all
All right.
to help us welcome Suliana from the ITU to come and just summarize how today went. Suliana, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I promise you it won't be 3 minutes. On behalf of the ITU BDT We'd like to thank everyone who have made pledges today. It's been tremendous. It's been so different for us. This is a really new thing for ITU, and I think we're very energized by what we have heard today. Please, we look forward to more. There will be another 8 sessions and another 3 spotlights to look forward to. So please, I'd like you to clap one more time for all our speakers, and let's look forward to tomorrow. Thank you. 9:30.
Thank you so much, Suliana. As she had said, today we have discussed the challenges and opportunities related to digital development. We've had concrete pledges and new partnerships have also been forged. So just to mention that tomorrow at 9:30 a.m., we'll have amazing sessions as well as amazing speakers that have been lined up. Looking forward to seeing you all here tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Do have a good evening.
É muito importante hoje aprender programação porque a gente está vivendo num mundo cada vez mais digital.
Na nossa oficina de Scratch, a gente aprendeu a como fazer